Okay, welcome back, everybody. This is Paranormal Watchtower, Brandon and Ray. Tonight, we are going to be doing some pretty interesting topics for you tonight on angels versus aliens. Also, are ghosts real? I came across some pretty interesting evidence that says otherwise, contrary to my popular belief, but let's see what they say. So, to start off, Ray's got a pretty good topic he wants to talk about, so I'm going to turn it over to him and let's get it started. How are you doing tonight, Ray?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Pretty interesting day. It was kind of a date night afternoon for me.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, you have no idea.
No, no.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to go deep down the rabbit hole?
I am ready. I'm always ready to go down the rabbit hole. I love it. Love it.
I mean, this one's deep. I don't know if you're going to be able to handle this.
Well, if not, I'll just stare in amazement.
All right. All right. So this is a topic I've tried to do on TikTok, and a lot of times my videos get pulled for stupid reasons. So
All right.
it drives the conspiracy even more. TikTok is involved.
Well, it's always good when you don't involve TikTok because then we can speak our minds.
Right. They don't like me to speak my mind.
No.
Now, what this deals with is aliens, angels, possibly demons, prophecy. And this is something that I came up with these thoughts when I was probably 8 or 9.
Thoughts.
Thoughts. I mean, they're just thoughts. I can't prove none of it.
Oh, this is going to be juicy. You got thoughts and theories. I love it.
Yes. Thoughts, theories, huge plot. So, I've always been fascinated by the prophecies in the Bible. Love to study about them. When I was real young, I was even bigger into it. And so, it talks about in the Revelations, there's a huge lie that everybody in the world pretty much falls for, which brings us towards the one world government, the one world religion, and obviously the Antichrist.
What's the lie?
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't tell you. It just says the world will be deceived by this thing, whatever the lie is. So, being curious like I am, I've always asked myself that, well, what is this lie? What is the great deception is probably a better way to put it than a lie. The great deception, we'll call it that.
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is the saying, the devil's greatest feat is convincing the world he doesn't exist.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
That's the first thing that came to my mind when you said that.
Makes sense.
So I don't know if that's it, but it could be a contender.
I mean, it's close. You ready for this? I don't know if anybody's ready for this. I don't know if I'm ready to get put into an insane asylum for this.
Oh, let's go.
All right.
Drum roll.
Drum roll. All right, so check it out. This is my thoughts from a little child, and I still believe it to this day. Like, this is how much ingrained into my brain and how much thought I put into this theory. But I've always wondered, with all the different religions out there, how could there ever be a one world religion? With all the different competing governments, how could there ever be a one world government? Like, I couldn't figure out how that would happen. And then you start thinking about the way that, to me anyway, it seems like aliens are being presented to us in a different way nowadays than they used to be. Like, I'm sure you remember from the 80s and 90s, if you saw aliens, you were considered kind of crazy.
Right.
It was the guy in the trailer park, Baba Joe, Jim Bob, whatever, talking about getting probed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And then just like a light switch flipped, right? And now people like me that don't believe in aliens, we're considered the weird ones.
Right.
So this conditioning that's happening, I call it conditioning. What it led me to believe, even as a young child, is the only possible way to get rid of all the religions and make you believe there's only one religion, so to speak. What, and we see this actually in Ancient Aliens. You know, that's why I really love that show. But imagine
Good
if
show.
you, it's a great show. Imagine, if you will, all of a sudden some aliens land in DC, LA, wherever. And they're like, yeah, we created you genetically. There is no gods. We're pretty much your God because we created you. You know, and they're obviously going
Yeah.
to have technology we don't have.
Right.
So to us, it's going to look godlike.
So you think that's how it went? Or do you think they're just trying to trick us?
Well, I think the end goal is they're trying to trick us. In my mind, what would be called aliens to me are just fallen angels, or even we would have called them the ancient gods of Egypt, Greece, Mesopotamia.
So wait a minute. Let's put a pin in that for a second. So you think all the Greek gods are fallen angels?
I don't know about all of them, but some of them, and the Egyptian gods.
That's an interesting take.
I mean, just look at the pharaohs of Egypt. Like, they kind of look weird. They got some weird heads, big old foreheads. Hey, you need to watch more Ancient Aliens, apparently.
They look weird. I think the guys that host Ancient Aliens look weird.
Yeah, I wish I had that kind of hair.
I mean, you know.
But my thoughts on it is just, you've heard of Project Bluebeam, right?
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
for those that don't know, it's a conspiracy that we can use holograms to try to trick the world. So imagine that these fallen angels, as I call them, are in cahoots with some of the people in leadership in the world. I don't mean government. I'm talking Illuminati type people.
Rockefellers and or whatever
Right.
the big families that all own all the banks.
Pretty much. So in my head, if they're working in cahoots to try to show like an alien invasion, an alien landing, and all of a sudden, like, you're met with what maybe the ancient Egyptians would have called Ra.
Actually, I said Rockefeller. I meant Rothschild.
I mean, the Rockefellers are pretty rich too.
Yeah, but the Rothschilds are way more rich. But anyway, moving on. What were you saying?
Moving on. So I can see like they're conditioning us to not be scared of aliens, and it
Right.
almost feels like they're conditioning us to be prepared for them to land sometime or to appear, whatever, however that's going to work. So just imagine the world, you know, a lot of people that are religious, I shouldn't say a lot, I don't know the numbers. A lot, I did it again. Many people who are religious, I don't think they're as strong in their faith as what they pretend to be, you know. So I could see like these aliens come down looking crazy, you know, however aliens look, I have no idea. And they tell you, we created you in a lab. Your God is just something you made up. There's going to be a ton of people that leave their faiths in a religion. And
Do you
just,
think it'll be enough to convince the average commoner
yes.
to change their faith?
And even the
Interesting.
non-average commoner. Like,
Hmm.
I could see preachers and stuff leaving the faith from this. And then all of a sudden, if they're saying, hey, religion is why you all have wars, which you hear that all the time.
Right.
It's not really true, but you hear that all the time. And they say, what we're going to do, because, you know, you can imagine they're going to take over the world with the technology they have, right? The governments, they're going to probably try to stop all the wars, bring about a world peace, a utopian society, as you call it, as long as you don't claim any religion.
Right. So are you saying that it's the aliens that are going to come down and do this, or are you saying it's their government using holograms to fool us to think they're doing it so they can do what they want to do to control the entire world?
I think it's going to be a combination of all of them.
Hmm.
Like, obviously, the government, some high powered things, are going to have to work with these beings. And it seems like they're conditioning us to that because, you're seeing governments now releasing classified info on UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a whole different world. And I may be very wrong about this. I'm okay with that if I am. It's still cool to just imagine it in my head.
I mean, who's to say who's right and wrong? It sounds plausible to me.
It seems very plausible. Like, there's a lot of people that, imagine them outlawing religion, saying, we created you, here's proof.
Mm-hmm.
No more religion that causes war and hatred. If you're a religious person, death penalty, which follows prophecy.
Hmm. What if it's and I'm just spitballing here, but what if it really was aliens who put us here? What if we're made in their image, like the Bible says, made in His image? Maybe we're made in their image, because they say there's those blonde aliens that look a lot like us, and if I mean, just what if
There's a lot of
that
what
sounds
ifs.
yeah. This is like, well, what if the moon is a spaceship?
It definitely is not.
You can't prove that.
I mean, that's one dense spaceship causing tides here.
Yeah, and I think it ran out of gas because it's been there a while.
That's hilarious. But I could just see a world where that happens. Like, I've always tried to figure out the Great Deception. That's the best answer I can get. Like, that would be the only thing that would stop the world in its tracks and make even the most intelligent people think about things.
Hmm.
You know, even the most hardened Christian, Muslim, Hindu, whatever, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
make them stop and think about things. And let's
Oh,
say, like, all of a sudden, these alien looking things actually look like the old descriptions of the ancient gods. And they're like, we were here before, we helped build the pyramids, whatever. We are your creators, so to speak.
mm-hmm. By any chance, have you seen? Today, I came across a TikTok video that had Barack Obama, Clinton, Bill, and George Bush, and they were all being interviewed, obviously at separate times, about aliens and what they know and what they don't. Now it seems like Clinton and Obama both want to tell us. Like they like totally hint that there's shit going on. And but they all say, well, it's classified, or we I can't tell you. And just by saying I can't tell you, he'll ask direct questions like, are aliens here already? And and Barack's like, I can't tell you. He doesn't say no. He says, I can't tell you, which I thought is like, okay, you know more than you're saying. But Bush is like, no, I'm not saying a damn thing. Nope. Nope. So I'm assuming you didn't see the video.
Not yet. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. And oh, the one thing that got me from that video was they said, one of the presidents, I can't even remember which one it was, but one of them said, I think it was Barack. He said, our younger children are gonna be able to take advantage of what's coming, and it's gonna be scary at first, but it's gonna be for the better of mankind.
Just setting
And
you up.
that kind of was like, so aliens are coming, and we're gonna have to blend with them and coexist. Is that what you're telling me? I think that's what he's telling us.
I mean, I'm not above saying that Obama's probably the Antichrist if it happens in our time.
Pew pew. Shots fired.
I voted for the guy in 2008. So
The first time. The
the
first time.
first time, yeah, I learned my
Right.
lesson. He's got
Right.
the tongue of a snake, which reminds you of who in Scripture?
Don't test me on scripture, dude. I'll fail. I'll
I
fail.
was testing the chat. That would
Okay.
be the Antichrist.
Gotcha.
I mean, he doesn't match the other stuff, but whatever. Semantics.
Aha.
But that was kind of
Oh,
my little rabbit hole. Like,
I
I
like
don't
it.
get
I
into it
like it.
much on lives, but I don't think the aliens are in outer space or traveling from distant galaxies. I have no problem believing that when the ancient gods left, or the aliens, or the fallen angels, they probably just built some shit underwater.
Oh,
Maybe the
yeah.
South Pole.
Well, you always hear about those ships that fly into the ocean. You
Right.
know, I'm quite
Right.
convinced there's something going on underneath our waters for sure.
It seems like it are way down in Antarctica.
Hmm.
Or they just maybe walk around looking just like us. Obama.
All right. Let me see what I got here. So, during some of my research, I came across a guy that was pretty interesting. He goes by the name of Joe Nickel. Now, Joe Nickel is a self-proclaimed paranormal investigator, but he's also, I got to read it off of because I had to write it down, social psychologist. Now, he
Nice.
is going on, yeah, he is going on saying that he's a paranormal investigator, but his goal is not his goal, but through all his antics and research, he's saying that there's basically no way that ghosts can exist.
Hard to disagree with the guy.
Well, and that's because I figured you would ride that fucking pony. But anyway, he's apparently written 40 books. Okay, and they range anywhere from uh psychics, UFOs, ghosts, chupacabra, uh miracle claims like, you know, heaven, miracle, uh Bigfoot, even spontaneous human combustion, and the Loch Ness monster. So he's written books on all these topics, and the evidence that he's putting up that fights all these topics are pretty substantial, I have to say. They're, you know, it, and I look at it in the same way I look at the evidence that the flat earthers bring around. I'm looking at it like, oh, that's an interesting point of view. You're fucking crazy, but it's an interesting point of view.
So you think he's crazy?
I don't think he's crazy. He's got, I don't know if I can.
What are these points? Like, is this
I'm
strong
about to tell you.
strong enough evidence to make you change your mind?
No, but let me show you an example.
Let's see.
What he did was he took a picture of the very famous picture of the Loch Ness monster. Okay, it's backwards for you, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
Okay, you see it?
Yep.
That is known. That's Nessie, right?
Allegedly.
Okay. Allegedly Nessie. Now, what he did was he took another picture of seals swimming in unison and got this. He actually took a video.
No, it's
very
in Loch
similar.
Ness.
Well, he's making it look like it. It looks like the same background.
I don't know if seals are in Loch Ness or not.
Well, either seals or otters. I think he might have said otters. I just said
okay.
seals because I couldn't remember.
We'll go with otters.
But either way, it looks awful similar. If you can look them up on YouTube. So anybody who's doing any research in this podcast, again, his name is Joe Nickel. This was published, what looks like to be by the University of South Carolina. This guy works for They were very vague on a scientific organization and a magazine called Skeptical Inquirer.
Oh, Skeptical Inquirer.
Yes.
So, like, what's he say about ghosts then?
Well, hey, baby
I'm
steps.
sorry,
Baby
I'm
steps.
getting too excited.
Yeah. um, he says that Bigfoot is, well, here, let me just show you the images that he has of Bigfoot. Now, this is taken right off the YouTube, right? Okay, this is his Bigfoot photo, right?
Looks like a man
Bigfoot,
in a ghillie suit.
Bigfoot. All right. And here is now this is superimposed onto the same picture, but he's like, there's a bear. And he's trying to say that it very easily could be a bear. Now, to me, the bear looks fake as hell.
Yeah, it does.
Right? The bear looks fake as hell, but the other one doesn't really. Like, it doesn't look nearly as bad. That bear was pretty cartoony.
Yeah, to me that just looks like a dude in a ghillie suit.
So, but anyways, he's poking and prodding at all this, and I don't know if I buy it or not, but some of the stuff is interesting. Now, let me see what else I got for you here. Here's what he looks like, by the way.
He looks like he's in a movie sometime.
That's Joe. Joe Nickel.
What's up, Joe?
Yeah, he's a pretty interesting guy, actually. But let's see.
I mean, I'm glad there's skeptics like that in the field.
Oh,
Definitely
absolutely.
need them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I was watching, have you seen like a Paranormal caught on video?
Yes.
I was watching it tonight, and there was some obvious balloons floating in the sky. And all of these paranormal people they had on as guests were like, whoa, that's unexplainable. That's got to be a UFO. It's like, it's a bunch of balloons, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I love skeptics that help us out because some investigators, they just think everything is paranormal.
And I watched Joe's special this afternoon, and he goes on to say, yeah, well, after I explain it to people, they all tell me, well, yeah, that's obvious. Well, of course it's obvious after I just explained it to you.
Right.
But it's not at first. You'll believe it at first until I explain this, that, and the other as to why this is happening.
I mean, if I seen a guy in a ghillie suit in the woods and I didn't know he was there, I would probably say I saw Bigfoot too.
Mm-hmm.
But my video would be a lot better than Bigfoot video.
My video would be better, he says.
Yeah, I'd shoot that in HD.
Okay. He says, paranormal experiences with ghosts can be misleading due to the limitations of human senses. That's why anecdotes can't substitute for objective research. Alleged hauntings usually have plenty of non-ghostly explanations. That's kind of what he led off with,
I mean, that's true. But did he try to tackle like any good evidence?
He goes after orbs bad, like hard.
Who don't?
What's that?
So who don't? That's the easiest thing to debunk.
Yeah, he is just shooting. He is raining on everybody's orb parade, and I'm kind of with him on that. Orbs are the hardest thing for me to believe, but
yeah, you mostly got to see those in person to believe them, and they could be anything.
And even if you do, you always need something else to go along with it. In my eyes, I always need something else. I need some sort of vocal or physical interaction with a person. Like I used the example on a previous podcast about if you see an orb come through the camera and go touch your buddy's head, and then all of a sudden he goes, "Oh, I got a bad headache" or something immediately after. To me, that's something that could be more than a dust orb, you know.
Yep.
But he goes on to say they're particles of dust, just wafting a little too close to the camera lens, uh, and it's they're made to bloom by the camera's infrared lights. So they appear to float around the room as an optical illusion, which I agree with. He did a flying book example. He saw a video of a guy sitting at a desk and the book flies off. And he actually makes his own bullshit video. He's like, nah, no, I can. He recreates it and he explains. He makes the video and it's pretty interesting how he does it. You'll see the video and you'll see the book like move a couple times and then it just flies off the desk. Well, matter of fact, well, here, I'll just show you. And he shows how he does it. He shows how he does it. Oh, never mind. The book already flew. Let me try that again.
Is he just using string?
Yeah, he ties a string around and he even says he pulls it with his right hand that is out of screen and the book takes off. So, I mean, he's pretty good at showing that type of thing. Yeah, he's calling bullshit on ball lightning. He blames it on emotional arousal, uh, sleep phenomena, social influences, culture, a misunderstanding of how recording devices work, and also blames it on prior beliefs and personality traits along with that of the person.
I see the last two.
I get that, you know. I get it.
Oh no. You can, like, if a book flies off the shelf, like, let's take Pyro's video, that marker.
Okay.
Like,
the one that we showed a few weeks ago.
You could obviously recreate that easily. But since I know him personally, and I don't think he would lie to me about it.
Right.
Like that, sure, I can pull a pin off the counter with the string, whatever, but that doesn't really disprove anything to me. That just says, yeah, I can do it with string too. But knowing Pyro and seeing the video, like, that's one of the more compelling things I've seen.
I enjoyed that video. And those of you who don't know the video, you'll have to go back and look at the podcast unless Ray decides to put it in this one again.
I mean, I might.
But what happens is he's sitting there at his security job looking at the monitor, and off to his left, you'll see a highlight marker slide out on the table and then roll off. And he's nowhere near it. It's pretty interesting. You'll see him look, and he's pretty shocked. It's a pretty good video. It's pretty good. I tend to believe him on this one.
I do too. And I'll say that many times.
Now, he goes on to say, is it possible for there to be ghosts? He says, certainly, it is possible. Lots of people believe in ghosts, a spirit left behind, and he goes on to say it's a spirit left behind after someone who is alive has died. Duh. In 2021, there was a study of 1,000 Americans, right? They took this poll. It was a poll. And 41% said they believe in ghosts, but 20% of the total said that they have had personal experiences. And if they're right, that's more than 50 million spirit encounters in the U.S. alone.
I mean, I actually would have thought it'd been higher, but that's still a lot of people.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Well, and then you got people that investigate all the time, you know. So that probably ups their average, I'm guaranteeing, you know.
I'd have to say, a lot of the investigations I've been on and stuff I've seen, like that story I told you about last week here at my house, to me is like the paranormal event of my adulthood, I should say. Like, that was such a crazy night. And I know there could be normal explanations for a lot of it, but like, nothing has impressed me on an investigation like something smacking the crap out of the back of my window. Like, that was just crazy.
He goes on to say there's four things that you never hear a ghost do, or you never hear about a ghost doing. And it's kind of interesting. He says you never hear about a ghost aging or eating, breathing, or using the bathroom. And they're kind of throwing shade because they're kind of saying, well, if they were real, they would do this, but they don't have a body, so they don't have a need to eat, breathe, or shit. You know what I mean?
That's not a good argument on his part.
No, that was pretty weak. It was pretty weak. He goes on to make a joke about despite plumbers receiving many calls about toilets ghost flushing. Yeah, that just means your plunger and the tank doesn't work right.
Right. But was he like when? So if he saw a picture of a ghost, let's say an apparition, he's one of them type that's just going to write it off no matter what.
Absolutely.
It sounds like anyway.
That's what it sounds like to me too.
It's okay to be skeptical, but have a little common sense in your skepticism.
Yeah. That's last week's. We don't need to talk about last week's stuff, do we?
I don't know. Did you have more to add or something?
Oh, I got more. Yeah. And I mentioned that he was talking about the Loch Ness monster. He compared that to the otters or whatever, the Bigfoot to a bear, and then he claims that there's a place in New York who saw a lady in white in the window. Now, he claims to have investigated this, and it was a mannequin in a white dress up in the window. Now, I don't know if that's a normal thing in New York, but here in Wisconsin, you don't see a whole lot of people putting dresses on mannequins and putting them up in their front window. I mean, you go past my house on Halloween, you're going to see some shit. But
truth,
on an average average day, that's not something you normally see, you know. I don't know if it was a specific house in New York. I didn't have time to dig into it any more than that, but that's that.
I think the only Loch Ness monster photo I've ever seen that I actually am intrigued by is it's underwater, and all you see is the flipper of some kind of animal.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
I think I did see that one, but you see the water, the waves moving along with it. If it's the one I'm thinking of,
it's like a close up of a big ass flipper looking thing, or I'm not sure what it is, from a plesiosaurus or something. But like, that's the only real piece of evidence from Nessie that I find intriguing. Everything else could be faked pretty easy, or could be just logs in the water or whatever.
I gotta admit, this guy kind of pissed me off a little bit. And
imagine that.
Yeah. Well, he's saying now part of it makes sense, but you'll know when I get to the part that pissed me off. He's saying that peripheral vision. Like, I'm having a hard time with that word. Peripheral, whatever. You get it. That you lose sight of your peripheral vision. You can't see very good, but you can see motion better than you can in regular sight, apparently.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's why you see stuff moving in the corner of your eye. You'll see it first, and you'll notice it. Your mind will see that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And acknowledge it.
Defense reaction, probably.
Right, like a fight or flight thing. That's what I'm thinking. But this is where he got me. This is where I'm like, dude, we could have been friends till you started talking like this. He's talking about audio pareidolia. And he goes on and on. He goes on and on talking about how the EVPs that we're getting, chances are not ghosts. They're just simply noises that we interpret as words.
I mean, I can agree with that on a lot of things. Not everything. I mean, sometimes that shit is clear when it comes through.
Well, shit. I just posted, like tonight, I just posted a video with the spirit box, full blare, no headphones, no Estes bullshit, plain spirit box out to the camera like this. And I asked, hey, I need you to say a dirty word to prove to these people that you're really here and that you're spirit and you can understand what I'm saying. And it came through loud as hell, clear as day, bitch. Now, this is back in 2020, of October of 2020, when I recorded that video. And back then, which was only 4 short years ago, you didn't hear the word bitch on the radio. And that's people's biggest gripe with spirit boxes is it's just radio and you're making it out to make sense of what you're saying. And
I think that happens.
Well, I'm sure it happens. Don't get me wrong.
I think it happens
but I'm saying
lot.
There is.
But sometimes it's very clear.
It is, to me, this is refutable or unrefutable. You can't, I can't even argue that that's what it says. Like there's nothing else it could have said. But
like, I think when I watched Ghost Hunters, yeah, the original tabs, like that would annoy the shit out of me. When they didn't get a whole lot of evidence, they would play you this, and they're like, "Did you hear it say, devil is in this room?" Like it's like it didn't say that. It was just noise. Now sometimes they'd catch, hello, something like that. That no denying it was a voice. But I can't stand when, like, if 3 different people are hearing 3 different things, it's not good evidence to me.
That's right. That's right. And it's always fun, like when I'm replaying evidence, like especially when I was doing in-home investigations, privates, and I would always go back and what was called the reveal, right? Go back a few days later, a week later, and show them what you got. Well, and it's always fun for them to listen to the EVPs and see what they hear.
Right. Without telling them first.
Without telling them. But don't tell them a damn word. Just tell them there is something here, but I want you to listen and tell me what you hear. And what I would do is I would write down what I thought it said. And then they would say it. And most of the time they were the same. Most of the time, but not all the time.
Yep. And that irritates me on shows when they're like, the investigator's like, I hear we robbed a bank. What do you hear? It's like, oh, come on. You just put it in their head now.
And the reason, and I'm guilty of putting words up on there. I've done it several times. But the reason I do it is because it's up on Facebook, or not Facebook, but TikTok. So people don't have attention span. So if they don't know what to listen for, they're not even listening in the right spots.
You're making content at that point. What are you gonna do? Put a poll in? What do you hear? Like
TikTok, and nobody participates
on there. Yeah. And I mean, people can disagree. If they hear something different, they should put it in the comments. Oh, I hear this.
Oh, then you want to hear about the next thing he shits on?
Oh yeah,
he's totally shitting on EMF detectors. Like he is saying they are useless. They are so useless. You might as well throw them in the garbage, basically. He's saying that if you have any kind of EMF, and I actually agree with this part. Electromagnetic fields can affect your body to the point where if there's enough, it'll make you see things, including apparitions.
Make you hallucinate, make you hear noises, voices, make you sick.
But not everybody's affected the same.
Nope. Some people are highly sensitive to them.
Yeah. But they're actually blamed for most paranormal experiences. That's why I cringe when I see somebody walking around with a K2 and he's like, "Oh, there's a ghost over here." No, no, your K2 is setting off my bullshit meter. You know,
Right. I
it's
mean,
a
I still
bullshit
like to use the
detector.
K2 because it looks good on video, but I don't put too much stock behind it.
It's a glorified cat ball, is what it is.
Cat balls.
I can't stand cat balls. I'm sorry. I know there's so many people using them, but I don't know. I
They're
have as
so
soon remember the
sensitive.
time.
So
You remember the
sensitive.
time? I know. Remember the time I was doing that attic investigation, or was it on the table? I can't remember, but I think it was you who said
It was the attic, yeah.
it's a it's the vibration from the portal box that's setting it off.
Yep.
And I was like, oh shit, it could be. And then I put it on something soft and it never went off again.
Yeah, it was like every time your portal box got loud, that thing would go
Yep.
off. So I think it
Yep.
was just vibrating the wood it was on enough.
But we figured it out and we fixed the problem.
And a lesson to you out there, he didn't get mad and yell because somebody debunked something he was doing. He's just like, oh, yeah, you're right. Let's move this.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. If somebody comes into your life and tries to explain something to you and you get upset by it, that's very telling.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you're not even willing to try to debunk something. Like, to
If you're
me,
not even,
every investigator should debunk.
God, disprove.
Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. Every investigator should disprove.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So for all you that don't know, disprove is the new word we're using.
Yeah. Yeah. He goes on scientifically explaining why the EMF detectors don't work. He's blaming uh he's blaming sleep paralysis and oh man, just tons of
That don't
stuff.
make sense.
Well, that's what he's saying.
To me, the ones that all the investigators buy are way too sensitive. And I understand they're like, well, what if they only have a little bit of power? And to me, like, if they have enough energy to talk, to push
Uh-huh.
something across the table, they can.
See, it was much more impressive when I was watching it earlier, but now that we're talking about it, now I'm thinking all this evidence that he's telling me isn't that great. Like, it's making me
It's not
go the
good.
opposite way, you know. But he talks about sleep paralysis after he says that. He kind of leaves the whole EMF thing, and he says the sleep paralysis. He basically says that there is a disrupted sleep uh, due to stress, and your body's asleep, but your brain is not quite sleeping yet. And he blames neurons misfiring at the wrong time, which can induce self-made projection of another person. Now, I know people that have gone through sleep paralysis, and it's not them dreaming like he's saying it is. You know, it's not them. It's not. I've. That's just too hard for me to believe. You know. Sure, sometimes it can be illness. You know, but
Sleep paralysis is crazy.
yeah, there's so many different kinds of sleep paralysis and so many different things that happen. You can't just write it off, you know?
So now that you've heard all that, what that guy had to say, you're not as influenced by him now after you talked
No,
about it.
no, not at all. It was much more impressive when I watched it first without thinking about it, you know, which is why a lot of people on uh, social media are popular because people watch them without thinking or analyzing
It's true.
and discussing. But it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It's one of my favorite sayings.
What do you think about like the influence of pop culture into the paranormal? For instance, I was telling you this earlier. Like the chupacabra was never heard of until there was a Mexican movie made called Chupacabra,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden everybody's seeing it. You know,
Well, I'm sure that. Well, that reminds me of another. cryptid that was the same way. That was damn it, Mothman.
Mothman.
Mothman didn't appear until what was it, 19? I want to say 1971, when some girl saw him, and then it struck panic in the town, and then all of a sudden everybody started seeing it.
Right.
So I think it has a, I don't want to say a negative impact, because without that impact we wouldn't be talking about it right now.
I don't know if I'd consider it negative or positive, but I've noticed like the idea of demons, exorcisms, like it seems like in the paranormal world, it follows the movies really closely. And that kind of bothers me, to be honest.
Well, it does, because that's the mainstream way of acknowledgement. That's how the masses find out about all this stuff, is through movies and songs, and hell, even, maybe even rap songs. I don't know. But, that's how they find out about it. And then they go online and start researching it. And that just pushes the envelope further as far as that particular item, that particular subject,
Well, you've done a lot of private investigations, which I have never done. I
which
would
are
love to sometime.
phenomenal. They are the best. They
Have
are
you
the best.
ever experienced anything like Poltergeist, the movie?
The movie, no. Poltergeist activity, and that's something that my beliefs in have changed since I started investigating. I
Have
used
you
to think
experienced it?
I have experienced like cabinet doors opening and stuff like that, but not like chairs flying across the room or anything like that. But little things. I've seen things disappear before my very eyes. Like
Really?
within, oh yeah. Yeah, I often tell this, like I used to be a smoker. And actually when I started 3 years ago, when I started on TikTok, I used to be a smoker, and I would, set my pack of cigarettes and my lighter just out of frame when I was recording. And then I would, and not only when I was recording, but when I was playing games. I was big into Call of Duty back then. And I would look down, and all of a sudden I could have swore I saw my lighter a few seconds ago, and I look down and it's gone. I'll get up, I walked around the whole house looking. I come back, I look at the table, I check the bathroom, I check everywhere, and nothing. I set the pack of cigarettes back down right where it was, and I'll game again, and then all of a sudden I'll just glance down, and boom, my lighter will be sitting right there. My lighter
That's
was
pretty
sitting right
crazy.
next to it. Yeah, it's like it just, like they're fucking with me. And I, I mean, in that house, I mean, that's I kind of learned to expect it. It was pretty. They love messing with me in that house. I don't know why. Even more so than this house.
I was going to say they don't mess with you as bad here where you're at now.
Not, no, not nearly as bad.
So
Mm-mm.
you think you left a couple spirits behind?
I've always wanted to go knock on the door, because I drive past that house a lot, and because it's like halfway between my house and Tina's house, so I'll drive past it a lot, and I always fight the urge to go knock on the door and just be like, "Hey, you got weird shit happening in this house?"
You got
you
to
know?
do it and then see if they'll let you do it on camera.
Yeah,
I mean, ask them
it would
first,
be.
obviously.
Well, from what I gathered, the people that bought the house, they just totally like took all the flooring out, all the cabinets that I had in there.
Well,
They
so they
took
might have
everything
some
out.
real activity going on then.
Yeah, remember that wicked ass basement? I swear there's a portal in that basement.
Yeah. That whole
I
house
don't know
was
if
crazy.
I don't know if you remember all the basement lives that I did, but wow, that place was just super active. The noises, the I don't want to call them assaults, but they're very touchy feely. The spirits were in that house.
The basement ghosts, you got to watch out for them.
Well, we had an old man. My daughter will tell you about the old man in the basement.
Oh, she's seen
She,
him?
oh yeah, oh yeah. She knows she couldn't even go into one corner of the basement, because she knows that that's his area. Like, and okay, so let's see, my daughter's 18 now. It was 3 years ago, so she was 15, and she knew it. Like she wouldn't go anywhere near that back left corner. Anyway, so that's neither here nor there, but
I mean, it's a good
yeah.
story. Like my
Yeah.
story
Oh.
like that would be in this house I grew up in little old Winfield, Kansas. Like it was a creepy house. And
Mhm.
I'll give you a couple of stories. My sister slept in the very far back of the house on the second story, and the attic access was in her bedroom. It was just one of them cut into the ceiling with the, you had to lift the freaking fake roof off of it, whatever.
Right.
Silly.
You needed a ladder to get into it.
Yep. One night, like, she just comes hauling ass downstairs. I think me and my brothers and sisters were downstairs watching TV, and she's just freaking out. Like, freaking out. And it's like, and what happened? She said that she was laying in her bed, and then she turned and looked, and there was an old man standing underneath where the attic access would be. So, yeah, that's a little
Okay.
freaky. I gotta fix my
Yeah.
headphones. But then I don't remember if it was my brother Roman or my sister Hope. One of them was in that back area, and they said that they looked up to the attic access, and it was pulled up, and there was a dude looking down at them through it.
What?
Scared the shit out of whoever it was. I don't remember if it was Roman or Hope. If you watch and remind me who it was. And that's not it. Like we had a
Jesus.
big family and not a big house, so me and my older stepbrother shared a room, and Roman and my other stepbrother shared another room. Well, I wake up in the middle of the night one night, and there's like a dude standing in the doorway, and I like yelled at my stepbrother. He hops up, he sees it.
Mm-hmm.
We go out into the, it's like a big open area, and the room surrounded it. So we go to where Roman and Adam were, and we're like, come look at this, because you could still see it on my sister's doorway where the
Mm-hmm.
attic was. And they come out and they see it. And like, I just got this huge adrenaline dump, and I actually walked to the door and flipped the light on, and it just gone. And it's like, I hated that house. Last story for you. I hated
I
that.
hated that house, he
That
said.
ended up being my room after, because I'm the middle of seven kids. So after my older brothers and sisters had left, that made me the oldest. And then there's a pretty big age gap between me and Roman, Hope, and Adam, probably 4 or 5 years, probably even more, 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
So I got the big room in the back by myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never saw the old man, but I'd hear footsteps constantly in my room. Like every time I'd go to bed, almost every night, I would hear something walking across the floor, and I just put it down, old house, floor creaky. But it sounded like somebody walking.
Huh.
And then I graduate, and all of a sudden, my mom, my dad, all my brothers and sisters decide to move to Illinois, and I'm just still, I've got like a couple months for college started. So I just stayed in this big ass empty house by myself. And the first morning they left, gave them all hugs. They get in the car and go, and I'm tired. So I go back inside, laying on the floor, and I hear something walking around in the back of the house where my room would be. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. But then it started walking down the hallway towards the stairs real fast. And like I got up and went outside, and I slept on the porch. I'm not even lying. It freaked me out that freaking bad. I'd heard the footsteps before, but it had never left that back area. And it sounded like it was coming full force to the stairs, which were towards the front of the house and right next to where I was laying in the front room floor.
How do you think that experience would go today? If it happened to you today, how would you react? Would it be the same or would it be different now?
Oh no, today I'd probably go try to find out what it is.
Even though
But
it's
at the
running
time,
at you. I mean, I'll
definitely.
be honest, that would startle the shit out of me.
Oh, it freaked
And
me out.
I'd probably go outside for a minute, you know.
Oh, I went and slept on the porch till my neighbor buddy came over and woke me up. Like you're talking, this is 7, 8 in the morning. I didn't stay in that house again. Like I just stayed at my friend's house till I went to college.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, wasn't having it.
So, yeah, private investigations are way better if you ask me.
I bet it would
They're
be. I
wa-
wish somebody would let me go.
they're way more personal, you know. But the dangerous part is, you got all these, and I'm using this term loosely, all these investigators online, and they're going out and they're throwing a REM pod and a tripwire down and calling that an investigation. You can't take one of those guys and let them do a private investigation in somebody's house who's scared to spend the night in their house. You can't. You got to have somebody who knows what the hell they're doing. Because there's certain things that you can do, what you can't do, or excuse me, let me rephrase that. There's things that you shouldn't do and things that you should do when you're dealing with a family who's in turmoil that you can't do at a public location. You know what I mean?
Right.
You almost have to be a counselor afterwards because you have to explain to them, not only show them what you got, but they've never seen this shit before. They have no idea what EVP is. They have no idea what a Mel meter does.
Right. And they probably didn't
They
call you unless they were being bothered by it anyway.
right. And so you're stuck being a not only a paranormal investigator trying to figure out what's there, but you have to figure out what's there. You have to fix it or try to fix it, and explain to them what they had, how you tried to fix it, and what they can do from here on out to make their life livable.
Never thought
So
of
there's
that.
there's way more to it. Now, you can't just go in and cause a ruckus and go live and then leave. You know what I mean? Like that's the difference.
That's not cool.
No. I've never gone live in a private investigation. Never. I've recorded a lot of them, with multiple cameras, multiple angles, stuff like that. But to me, that's private. I submit this stuff to the clients when something appears or something is questionable. I'll show it to them, and a lot of times they'll ask for a copy, and of course, I'll do what I can to get them one. But yeah, the point of what I'm saying is it's a completely different ballgame between a private investigation and just going to somewhere that's over investigated and a building.
And honestly, man, like, I'm probably going to believe that there's something more intelligent going on in a house than I am an abandoned building or an old apartment or old hospital or insane asylum. Like, they may have some residual hauntings in those buildings. I don't see why anything intelligent would stay in those places.
Well, and I gotta admit, you kind of pissed me off last week
What did I do?
because you ended like the last thing you said in the podcast was something that I totally wanted to talk about after you said it. I'm like, that son of a bitch. And then you just ended the podcast. I'm like, no, you said
What did I
demons
say?
aren't in abandoned houses,
Demons aren't in abandoned buildings.
in abandoned buildings. And I'm like, yes, that is a great point. We need to talk about that.
Oh, talk about it.
Well, you said, people go into these buildings and they're like, oh, it's a demon, or oh, it's demonic for sure. And I just roll my eyes. I'm like, yeah, okay, you got let's think about what a demon is, what they're after. Okay, they're after your soul and your life and your experiences, right? So, if why would they be hanging out in an abandoned building where nobody is?
I've never understood that. I don't know why. Like, if there's a demon that's like, I've been here for 5,000 years, I just want to get away and relax in this abandoned building, well, he probably ain't going to answer your damn equipment anyway.
Right,
He's chilling.
right. I mean, okay, now that I say that, I'm trying to think of examples, but if there was maybe some sort of a doorway or a portal to hell in that particular building for some reason, possibly they would come and go through there, but nobody, I mean, the odds of that are just
I mean, there's that pop
nothing.
culture again.
Oh,
Portal to hell.
yeah. Well,
it's astonishing how many people believe demons come from hell when hell's the final resting place. There ain't nobody in there right now.
There's nobody in hell right now.
According to my beliefs.
You're saying there's nobody in hell?
No, they don't get thrown into the lake of fire until the end of Revelations.
So where are they then?
Sleeping. I mean, dead, whatever you want to call it. I call it sleeping.
So you're saying people die and that's it? They're just like it was before they were born in whatever state that is
Right.
until the revelation happens.
I mean, that's what I
And
think.
then they get sent to the fiery depths of hell.
If that's where they're going. Hopefully none of y'all end up there.
I don't know. I don't know about all that.
Like he says he changed some of the fallen angels in the abyss under the Euphrates River. I think there's 4 angels buried under the Euphrates, chained up under the Euphrates.
That sounds like somebody wrote that down somewhere along the way.
I mean, it's prophecy. Nothing I can do about it. Might have.
I don't know. Don't know.
I don't know. I've always thought that. Like you see that, and Supernatural was big on that. You know, going to hell and demons living there, and it. Like I don't. Unless God throws them in hell, why would they be in hell? That's not a place even they want to be.
Well, aren't they employees of hell? Aren't they? Don't they work there? They wear the hell aprons.
I mean, God's given the earth to Satan. Why do they need to be in hell for? They have the whole earth. So, in a sense, we are in hell.
Okay, now I could have swore somewhere along the lines, and this goes under the category of I don't know enough about religion to talk like this, but I'm going to anyway. Isn't it said somewhere? And in somewhere in the Bible, I think it was, I don't know, I don't want to quote it, but it said that demons will rape the souls of humans in hell.
I don't remember using that word. There's gnashing and all kinds of other shit, but I don't know if it's the demons doing it.
I don't know. Maybe I just heard it somewhere.
Hell is a punishment for even the fallen angels. It's not a place they get to go and hang out at. Like, it's their punishment.
Oh. They don't go clubbing?
No, I mean, they might. But the way I read scripture is that is the ultimate punishment even for them. So I don't know why they're just chilling out down there right now. Over there, wherever it is, I don't know.
Do you believe hell is the same for everybody and it's one fiery pit, or do you believe everybody gets their own hell or heaven?
I don't really know. I've asked that same question to myself. To me, hell seems like it's one place for everybody, but it seems like heaven might be a little different for you because, you know, he's prepared a house for you. It says, I doubt they're all the same kind of houses. I don't really know. Like, there's nothing I could point to in scripture that could answer that either way.
Well, I'm not talking scripture. I'm talking about what do you think?
I would think since hell is a punishment that it's probably, I'm guessing it's like it describes it as a pit of fire that's just horrible. Now, I like some of the movies, like, was it Robin Williams? His wife had committed suicide and he went.
Oh, God, that was a sad ass movie.
Right? Like, that was interesting to me. I don't know if that's how it works in real life, but that was a very interesting movie to me.
I haven't seen it in so long. I vaguely even remember.
I can't even think of what it's called.
Yeah.
I'll look it up for you. JC, check it out. Haven't shouted her out yet.
Yeah. So.
But heaven, I think you have the ability to create and to do what you want.
So then if you can create it, then it's not a big hangout where you see everybody that you know.
No, I don't think so. I think there's a city, like a central part of heaven, which, you know, I would call it like the Jerusalem in the sky. I don't know what to call it. Where I'm guessing God and the angels hang out, and you're just out doing what you want, unless you ain't violating laws.
So everybody lives in the old Nebraska part of heaven, and they have to go into town to get their groceries and shit.
I mean, if you want, I don't know if you got to eat when you're up there, but
well, you know,
it talks
I'm
about
just
having
saying.
fruit trees and stuff, so maybe we get to eat when we're up there. But I just think, you know, you can be Like, you could probably make a little universe if you wanted, in my opinion. My plan, if I get there, is to go travel the stars and check it out. I want to go like right up to a black hole and just sit there and watch it.
You watch it suck everything through.
Yeah. Go check a nebula out from a few light years away. I mean, that stuff is gorgeous to me. I'd love to just travel the stars.
We should probably talk about how your theory on the ghosts being left behind. And I thought of something, because we were talking about that show that you got me to watch. Ghosts. And it's a comedy, but there's a lot of stuff in there that raises an eyebrow.
Right.
And
it really does.
And they touch on damn near everything, like you brought up the fact, well, how come that, what's her name? Flower. She says, how come I can sit on the couch, but I can walk through the wall. I don't fall through the couch.
I mean,
and I'm just like, damn, but I'm not exactly sure where I was going with that, but there's a lot of things in there that raise questions about it,
Maybe we'll have to do a whole podcast on what we learned from the series Ghosts.
Because you were saying that the Earth keeps moving on its rotation, rotating around the sun.
Right.
So you're thinking, how come we don't just leave ghosts behind? They should just be levitating all the time. Yeah. Yep. Now get this. Now this is something on that theory alone. I was thinking, what if they do get left behind and we're rotating on roughly the same circle every year?
No.
Stop. No. Just don't bust the balloon just yet.
No.
What if when we come back on that 1 year anniversary, that's when we pick them up again and we can communicate with them for that day?
I mean, that was just a thought. That's a great thought for a flat earther. But
oh my God.
Considering how we're moving through space at the same time we're rotating around the sun, orbiting the sun, like we're never ever in the same spot twice.
Man, why you gotta pull out all this scientific shit when I'm trying to
like how when a jet goes through a cloud and it spins, like there's a cloud spinning behind us of just dead people. That if the ghost thing is true. Like if you could look from the sun, well, let's say you go way past our little solar system here and look back, it would just look like a swirl behind us of just people floating. Oh shit!
That's terrifying,
right? I mean, now you know why I don't want to be a ghost. I'd just be hanging out in space. What if you didn't like the person that was by you? You can't swim.
Well, you're moving at how many thousands of feet per second or whatever. There ain't going to be much conversation, I would imagine.
I would assume you just stop. You have no mass. There's nothing for you, no reason for you to be going. I'd assume you just stop and the Earth leaves you.
But if you have no mass, why don't they just float off the Earth? Ghosts.
I'm saying. They do.
They got to have some sort of mass.
They would have to, if there actually is ghosts on this Earth, they would have to have some sort of mass to interact with the gravity.
Could that be written off as partial manifestation?
I don't know what you call it.
It's an interesting theory, interesting
you should be able to
conversation.
Measure it, though.
Well, shit.
How much does
I don't know.
Ghost weigh?
Yeah, well, they did that, and I know as soon as you said that, somebody in the chat is thinking about that scientific test they did when they weighed a body before he died, and then just after.
Right. What was it, like 20 grams or something like that?
I don't
remember anymore.
I don't want to say, but I want to say like 20 to 30. But and then you got people that say, "Wow, that's just gas escaping or whatever, which very well could be, but it's way more fun to think about it as weight of a soul.
I mean, there's
I
not a
think.
whole lot of gases escaping when you first pass. And if I remember the experiment, it was all on one weighted table or whatever you want to call it. So, like, even if they would have relieved themselves, that still would have been measured. Like, the weight shouldn't have changed 20 grams.
Hmm.
Allegedly.
Well, I mean, it's not really allegedly, is it? I mean, the weight difference was there.
Have they ever repeated the experiment? That's what I'd like to know.
Good question.
I
Good
mean,
question.
if they can do it over and over and it's always the same weight, well, then you got something. But if they've only done it once, I'm not going to run to the rooftops and scream.
Does a big person's soul weigh more than a skinny little person's soul?
Those are excellent questions. Like, imagine if everybody they weighed at the time of death lost the exact same 20 grams. That would be hard to argue.
Here's something. What if you're a good person versus a bad person? Does your soul weigh more or less?
I think it'd be the same.
I don't know. Carries more weight.
Carries more. Then that would mean people that have struggled just with stress would have more weight.
Well, I saw the movie Split, so it says that
yet.
Oh my God, get with the program.
I'm trying, man. I've been stuck on ghosts.
They say that the damaged are more evolved.
I mean, I can buy that. I don't know about evolved, but they probably see the world in a whole lot clearer way than the undamaged.
Well, anyways, I think time is up.
Time is up for episode 11.
Episode 11. Well, guys, thanks for joining us here on Paranormal Watchtower.
Very My name is Brandon. Appreciated.
It's Brandon. Hope you enjoyed it.
I'm Ray.
Yup. So, until next time.
You want to know a secret?
No, I don't do this to me again. What?
I started a Facebook page for Paranormal Watchtower.
Oh boy.
Go follow it. But anyway, thank you all for hanging out with us. I'm trying to think of something I could say to irritate him before I leave, but I don't have anything.
All right, that's it. We'll see y'all next week. Bye.
All right, we got to take a break for a second. I'm out of insulin. Apparently, my pump's beeping.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll just sit here and talk shit while you're gone.
What?
I said I'll just sit here and talk shit while you're gone.
Okay, it's recording.
Sweet. So Ray told me a secret. He's actually an alien. He's a reptilian, but I'm not supposed to tell you guys. So play cool when he comes back. Just pretend you don't know. Okay, we'll see if we can get him angry and get him to transform like the Hulk. This is what happens when you leave me unattended. Got no supervision whatsoever. Do 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 do. That just scared the shit out of me. That sounded like something evil, but I'm sure it was a truck going by his house or something. But that was like, what the fuck? Ray, I'm getting bored. Come back. This is a long break. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2. Oh, there's that noise again. I was not having any fun while you were gone.
It didn't look like it.
So it doesn't pay to listen to any of that.
No, I won't. I promise.
Lies.